And just in case you weren't 100% sure, says GTS right there on the bottom of the door. So 6 months with the 991.2 Lava Orange GTS. You know, it still looks as beautiful as the day I picked her up. Tangerine is what I call her. That's the name I gave this beautiful ride here. Tangerine Dream obviously is a known thing in the kind of the car world, and also one of the best electronic music bands of all time. So Tangerine seemed like the fitting name for my car. Yeah, but look at that thing, huh? Come on. It's just beautiful, it really is. Sorry about some of the ambient car noise in the background. This is one of the busiest streets in North Central Connecticut. So, yeah, aesthetically, I mean, this car is just bananas hot. I mean, come on, let's be realistic. Hi there. Yeah, I gotta say, I'm a big fan of looking at myself sitting in my own car. I know that probably makes me a narcissist, but I mean, was there any doubt of that anyway?
I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal.
So, yeah, I like it. But what I don't enjoy is the fact that I got the winter weight on top of the COVID weight and the lazy weight and everything else weight. So, yeah, I'm gonna need to work on that, and I will. However, that does help me transition into a new segment that we're going to be introducing here on At the Wheels, and that is going to be called
The Idiot in the Orange Porsche.
Beans. Yeah, so it's the Idiot in the Orange Porsche, and what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking my car and I'm going to be visiting local establishments, breweries, coffee shops, restaurants, and I'm going to do some features as well where I won't necessarily, you know, go in and tour the whole place. In some cases I will, but in some cases I'm just going to go into a place that's supposed to be pretty cool, grab a burger or a taco, and eat it right in the car, which I know is, you know, complete sacrilege and blasphemy, but I'm going to get myself a nice little bib.
My God, that's disgusting.
I'm going to cover up my little belly here, and I'm going to do a little review sitting here right in the car. And again, that'll be called The Idiot in the Orange Porsche, because I do have an orange Porsche and I am absolutely an idiot. So that'll be coming soon. But in the meantime, let's get back to the 6-month review. I want to talk about just a couple things inside the cabin. And, you know, there'll be the other stuff. We'll go around the outside of the car a little bit, but mainly it's going to be about the drive and how that's been over the last 6 months. But as you'll see in these other video clips, it's been a beautiful 6 months. It really has. There's really nary a complaint that I can come up with. I mean, the car is fast. It's just the crazy thing about this is having owned M3s and other, humble brag, you know, other cool cars in the past. Obviously, when you're in the sports car world, you definitely get compliments and people are, cool car, man, or that's my dream car. I love that. And, you know, all that kind of stuff. And I, you know, of course, get hit on massively by women. I mean, it's just incessant. I mean, that happens anyway. I could be driving a Pinto and that would happen. But specifically related to these cars, you know, this car, the compliments I get on this, it's a little strange because it covers the entire spectrum of who could even discuss a car. You know, little babies kind of give me like a little thumbs up, and I've had people in their 80s, so, beautiful car, Sonny. So there is no specific demographic, I would say, that loves and a lot of it is the look. A lot of them just talk about the color, but a lot of people obviously know 911, so they're like, oh man, love that car, it's a great combo. And I've mentioned in previous videos the black wheels that I never really liked. Noticing my belly starting to protrude a little bit here, so fix that. So yeah, I mean, black wheels are not my thing, or they never were, but they're growing on me. They're definitely growing on me. And the contrast between the orange and the black, I think, is what's really cool. I'm eventually going to maybe do the orange stitch, you know, the actual seat belts that are in orange. I think that would really make the interior pop. So back to the car itself, the interior. I don't really have any complaints about anything inside the car, except that ridiculous thing that I was like, I wonder if I'll be one of those guys that'll talk about little squeaks and things that they talk about in 911s. I do have a little one developing up near the front end between like the windshield and the dash area and the Sport Chrono.
It's a funny squeaky sound.
It doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen, and it's a weird little whistle squeak, and I haven't been able to pin it down. But, you know, when you get this thing up at 5,000 RPM and you're just, you know, legally and safely driving in enclosed areas, you know, it's, do you care? I mean, no, sometimes I got music on and, you know, listen to a little Iron Maiden or something, whatever.
Iron Maiden? Excellent!
And, you know, it's, it doesn't bother me. So if that's the only complaint that I have for the interior, then I think I'm doing pretty good. The infotainment center, as a lot of people say, could be a little bit more exciting. I am happy that I do have the, you know, that I'll grab a shot of this, but you know, that the bigger stick shift type of thing for the PDK and not that cheesy little shaver. I you know, as the 992 an upgrade, apparently I got to drive one at Lime Rock. I drove the 992 GTS, and it does feel a hair quicker. You know, handling wise, I don't know if I noticed anything. It did feel maybe a little bit lighter, but what do I know? Well, you know, my Mario Andretti. So, you know, it was, but every time I look down at that goofy little shaver thing,
What?
who thought of that? I don't know. I should probably know this. I do a car video. I should know who designed some of these things, but I don't, and I don't know if I really care.
John Cocktoe stole.
And they don't care that I exist. So, but anyways, love the interior of this car. The infotainment center system could probably use a little bit of a refresh. The Bose stereo that I have in here is not exceptional, but it's definitely good. But that's really it. I mean, what else can I talk about in the interior? It's just a nice car. It's comfortable. These seats have been very comfortable over the last 6 months. My wife loves being in the car. You know, I've had a couple other people in the car that's, hey, I feel fine. You know, I would say it's less explosive over bumps than the F80 M3 was. I mean, it's, you know, it can be rough. It's definitely harsh, but it isn't like the F80. I mean, this is definitely more plush. So, yeah, that's about all I'm going to say about the interior. And now we're going to get into the driving stuff. And let's get this bad boy out on the road, baby. All right, so here we are taking out the 991.2 GTS that I've had for 6 months in beautiful lava orange. And as you can see, that because I am the idiot in the orange Porsche, I am wearing a lot of orange things. I am not a Syracuse fan. I'm actually a UConn Huskies fan when it comes to college sports. So this is actually kind of blasphemy, me wearing and having this much orange, but I'm going to live with it, and just want to get that out there. So yeah, living with my first 911, this GTS, for 6 months has been an absolute dream, a tangerine dream, if you will. And I was going to mention that I was going to talk about the positives and the negatives, but there really are very few, if any, negatives to owning this car that I can ascertain. So, but what I think is interesting before we get into some of the driving stuff here is the story of me getting this car. For years and years and years, I guess you could say whined, and, you know, give me a thumbs up, hon, if you think that, yeah, there you go. I've definitely whined about owning, double thumbs up, whined about owning a 911. So my lovely wife here has said on numerous occasions, why are you buying BMWs, these M3s and whatever, if you love 911s? And of course, the requisite, well, it's expensive and things like that. But when you have a partner who just says, well, let's find a way to get this done, you know, that's a partner you want to hang on to, even if, you know, you question sometimes why they... Got something interesting going on with the car in front of me here, so I'm just taking a quick break. But so back to the story of buying this Porsche. So we had gone to a local, I had looked at a bunch of 911s online. I'd actually gone and seen some in person, just entertaining the idea that maybe this was going to happen. And of course the market, there we go, pulling over. Okay, so the market has been crazy. I mean, it's been absolutely insane as we got through COVID, as everybody knows. So nothing was working out. I was only half serious anyway, but we decided to go to this dealership, and my wife said, hey, there's, you know, this base Carrera that we drove. It was like a beautiful car, really nice, but I don't like fully connect with it. And I had to be honest, I wasn't fully connecting with it really that much either. Love it. I mean, of course, it's amazing. It's fast, it's quick, it's aesthetically beautiful. But the car I had already seen when I stopped in the dealership a couple weeks earlier was this particular car I'm in now, lava orange GTS. And when the guy told me the price,
Dollar,
spills, y'all.
And you're just getting it loaded. They just went through it, did a service. They were doing the 360 pictures. I was like, there's just no way. I mean, there's just no way. Now, the funny thing is, having the black wheels, I've never been a fan of black wheels, but something spoke to me about this car. I can't say exactly what it was on that first visit. Just the contrast maybe between the orange and the black wheels. Just fell in love with it. So long story short, we go back to the dealership. As I said, we drove this base Carrera in white. It just wasn't really like, again, electric, fun, cool, beautiful, but it wasn't just igniting the soul. So my wife here says, hey, why don't we take this 911 GTS out for a drive? It's sitting on the showroom floor, by the way. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to bug them. I just, no, let me take care of it. And she just says, hey, can you get this car out in the driveway there, and we can go for a ride? And they, of course, had no problem. They're like, sure. They move a car, they open the doors, they take it out. I'm kind of grinning at her like, nice job. I wasn't prepared to do that. But so that's what we did. We took it out for a long extended test drive, and I asked her because I was driving, I think, pretty much most of the time, how the comfort was. She said she really liked the comfort. She actually said it was more comfortable than my F80 M3 that I had. And I think both of us, but more so me, fell in love with the car at that point. The power, the handling, the steering primarily, just, that has the rear axle steering, I just became enamored very, very quickly. And that feeling is not dissipated. It's only intensified and improved and absolutely exponentially built since I've owned the car. I mean, the handling in this car is beyond anything I've ever experienced in any car that I've owned. It is extremely quick. Obviously, it's beautiful. I get compliments from across the entire spectrum of age ranges.
I love you. I'm not even embarrassed to say it. I love you.
I'm not embarrassed.
Love you.
I love you.
So that's the story of how I ended up with it and why it was this particular car. It's a CPO car. It's got a 3-year warranty. I got it with about 9,000 miles. I've put about 10,000 miles on it since I bought it.
What are you, nuts?
That's how much I am in love with the car, and that's over 6 months, by the way. So, yeah, love the car to death. And what we're going to do now is we're just going to take it on some twisty roads here in southern Massachusetts and just talk about the driving dynamics. Obviously, it's a sports car. It's a little, jagged over bumps. It's not as comfortable as if you're driving a Lexus or something, or an Escalade, but it's not meant to be. But I love the sound of it. We'll get a couple spots here where we can let this ring out a little bit. Boy, never gets old. It makes me want to cry. So, of course, there's a lot of discussion in the 911 forums and with people that own these cars about naturally aspirated versus the turbo cars. GT3, of course, is the pinnacle and the benchmark. And yes, those cars sound amazing, especially at the top end. But this car definitely sounds good. It's more muted. I mean, it does have the sports exhaust, so it's it's nice, but it's not like a GT3. But here's the thing: I'm used to having, like with the F80 M3 and these turbo BMWs, I'm used to having that instant, on-demand acceleration. So having the turbos is something I want to have. I enjoy it. I mean, I like the feeling of it. But what I've talked about a lot with some of my buddies and stuff about this car, and aligned with some of the other folks, is that when you get up to 52 to 5,500 RPM, to me at least, I mean, I'm not Mario Andretti here, and I'm not an engineer, but to me at least, it feels more like a naturally aspirated car. The power really starts to build. The sound just becomes incredible. So I think you sort of get the best of both worlds with this car. Now, I know, guys like Nick Murray, and I love Nick Murray. He's one of my favorite auto channels, big Porsche fan. He doesn't love the GTS because he feels like, well, it's just an S with extra things you can add into it. But, with the center lock wheels and the badging and, the rear axle steering being something which, again, I know you can get. I love the GTS. I don't think it's the baby GT3 and all the stuff that some of these people talk about. I get it. That's a completely different car. But there is really not much, if anything, you can say negative about owning this car. If you're into sports cars, if you're into sexy looking cars, if you like to drive in a spirited fashion, and you love cars that handle well with exceptional brakes, I can't imagine not loving the 911 GTS. And again, this is a 2018, so it's a 991.2. What I'm going to do now, and just in a second here, is I'm going to shut up and let the car talk for itself a little bit as we go through this mountainous area. But yeah, 6 months with this car. I have very, very little, if anything, negative to say about it. It's been a wonderful ownership experience. There's been 0 mechanical problems. Maintenance is reasonable compared to other cars in this class. So, yeah, it's just been a dream to own. And if I'm really digging, I mean, you know, you get the little squeaks and rattles here and there, but I mean, who gives a shit, right? You know, who cares? But less so than I thought. I mean, a lot of people complain with 911s that that's a common thing. I have not really noticed a ton of that. There's a little tiny one up in the front dashboard that I'm noticing now that I've heard before, but it really does not take away from the soundtrack of this car, which we're going to listen to a little bit now. I mean, it's just, the power is insane. The brakes are incredibly responsive. You can just, wherever you point this thing, it's going to go, and it's going to go willingly, without a problem, without hesitation. You know, if you get in a little bit of trouble and you realize you're cooking a little too deep into a turn too quickly, it's going to say, okay, no problem, just give me those brakes, or just turn in a little deeper, and it's going to reward you with, you know, the exact input that you were hoping you'd get. Really an incredible machine that, I mean, you know, everybody should have a chance to drive at some length, even if you can't own it. You know, it's giving me, I got little tingles in the back of my neck, you know, a little goose flesh here. You know, this car has such a history, obviously, and I know that everybody that owns their different generations, and there's been numerous ones, obviously, at this point, have something wonderful to say about it. And I'm sure if I went back and I drove a 964 or one of these other cars, that I would be in love with it. I mean, it's been a while. Some of them I have driven. But this, just to me, at least, has such an incredible balance of power, handling, aesthetic beauty, comfort. You know, 6 months with this car, and I just, my wife always says, you know, I know you like the GT3s and the Turbo S's and whatever, but this is your first 911. Like, you should just keep this forever. And part of me is like, how could I not keep it forever? I mean, this car is so amazing. They're so mechanically sound, especially if you take care of them, which I do. You know, why would you want to let it go? I mean, you could always, once the warranty's out, you spend a few $100, and obviously there's all kinds of programs and things that'll bump this up to almost Turbo S power. So that's right at your fingertips if you want to do that. But right now, I am just absolutely loving this 991.2 GTS in lava orange. I love the color. I love the comfort. And honey, I love you for being so instrumental in helping me get this car.
You're welcome.
Ah, thanks, baby. All right, so we're gonna tune out now, and I'll do a couple other things. And again, don't forget, I am gonna be launching the Idiot in the Orange Porsche channel.
Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Yo!
Or not channel, but feature as part of this channel fairly soon. So you'll see some of those videos before too long. And you know, thanks for checking this out. And I really hope that you have a chance to get yourself into a 911, because it's a wonderful experience. It really is. Take care, folks.
Beans. Beans.